don't, but I was like, we're like, let's just see how it rolls out. Across the board, everybody's trying to take a week off here. Kids are everywhere. So we know it's been a little bit of a crazy, it's major vacation week. So
Yeah.
we get it. So we'll record it. We're not taking it personally.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, explain it to me, Bella.
So we have two boards in our area. So there's One Point and Treb. They both use Prop DX.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So they both use PropTX. That's really
Yes.
interesting because I had somebody, we're coming out to do the open house 1 day coaching session for your board, and somebody responded back to me and said, I'm not with PropTX. And so I can't register. And I was like, oh, I was like, well, that's weird. And I was like, that's strange. And then I was like, okay, well, what's happening? So anyway, I emailed the association and said, what just happened here? And they're like, oh, and I'm like, all registration is through PropTX. And I'm like, okay. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a little strange. So anyway, it is what it is.
People
Well,
get confused with Prop TX and Realm. They think they're synonymous. They're not. But so people, there's Realm and Matrix users, but they all use Prop TX
like, don't you guys ever like? I know this is a little too deep, but don't you guys ever get a little bit like, okay, like it's very confusing.
all the
It's like,
time.
okay, I'm like,
It's overcomplicated.
Feel
I'm like,
confused.
it's like way too overcomplicated.
I
So
know.
we're gonna record this just for fun, because I know that there are people who are probably like obviously on vacation. And again, I was like, we're doing this regardless. And we see that there's a bunch of people rolling in right now, so we're good. We'll blame everything on Tamara. Today it is all her fault, but that's okay. We do have it in the school system and stuff like that. So I have a very different view of mid-year report. Okay, so mid-year reset, as we like to call it. Now we got some cool news to share, so people who didn't make it are going to be so devastated, but that's fine. It is where it is. Okay, so the turn is happening. Now, we know that you guys aren't Toronto. No kidding. I'm very well aware of that. But the GTA, the turn is happening. If you go to my Instagram, I'm not lying. Okay. We have proof. It's the first time in history. I put it up in December of 2025. I put my 5 predictions or 6 predictions for what's going to happen this year. And I got a lot of hate messages for that. It was awesome. Everybody was like, you know nothing. This is the year you're going to be wrong. I've been right for 7 years in a row to a T. Okay. So anyway, and I love the predictions. So one of my predictions is I said, we're going to go up in sales. I said, we're going to go up in sales and we're going to have a 2% increase in pricing by the end of the year. And anyway, those were my two ones that most people came after me. They were like, you have no idea. The sales are terrible, whatever the case is. Whatever. Here's your first indicator. Okay. Well, the first indicator is this. I'm always right. Okay. So I'm always right. Never question. I'm always right. And I'm always right because if I'm wrong, that means everybody we're coaching and all of our coaches, including myself, we got a lot of problems ahead of us. And I like it easier, not harder. So we like to always be right. So what you saw right now, and the interesting thing is this, when a market collapses, it collapses from external GTA and heads in and hits the core last. Okay, so it starts outside of the GTA and it moves inwards. So the external feels it first, and then the internal GTA right in the core of Toronto feels it last. Okay, that's why the condo market is so slow. It was already going down in Barrie long before that. Okay, so the point is that when it reverses the exact same way. It starts out increasing in the core and then it moves to the outside. So this is your indicator of what's coming. What's coming is in June, month over month, we had an increase of 9.3%, 9.4% year over year. Okay. Sorry, I'm just going to let people in. My mistake. Okay, there we go. Let's go back here. Okay, so the good news is that it's hitting. So now the new listings year over year down almost 13%. Doesn't take a rocket scientist. See, 39.2% seller to listing ratio. Watch what's about to happen with that. We're going to start to see that number go up. We're going to see less listings hit the market. Sorry, here comes everybody. You're on. Sorry, everybody's logging in now. I don't mean to laugh, but I'm like,
Totally
I'm
my
so
fault,
glad.
Marianne.
I'm so glad it was Tamara, not me.
It was me.
I mean, we don't win anything for this, but I'm very happy it was you, not me. Okay. So I feel like we've done so many things wrong. We have a whole new operations team, and they're just all over the place right now learning. We were like, it'll be a good time for you to learn. Oh my gosh, it'll be a good time for me to start drinking. But anyway, so as I was saying to everybody here, guys, the coolest thing is about to happen. So before I move on from this, the turn is happening. As I was saying to the group beforehand, when you're seeing markets get effective, it hits the outside external GTA first, moves its way inside, and then it reverses. Okay, when the market starts to change, it starts showing positive returns internally and it makes its way to the external. So it's exactly like a wave, in and out, just like a wave. So what you're seeing in Toronto core right now is an increase of 9.4% in sales year over year, and you're seeing 12.9% less listings hitting the market. This tells you we are about shifting down. We're going to see the 39.2% is up from 31%. That's not a small gap. This is huge. These numbers give me goosebumps. I literally am shivering right now because everything I said at the beginning of the year, I have a list of all the people that sent me those hate messages. I'm coming for them. I'm coming for them. And I'm going to send them all messages and say, here you go. So you're going to start to feel this in September. Okay, so what I want you to remember is the turn is happening. It's going to hit you in September. You're going to feel it very dramatically in September, and that's a really good thing. Okay, so slow first half, but now we're starting to see the turn. The turn is happening. Absolutely amazing. Okay, now, how do I know this to be true? Because every economist now has picked up on this, and you're seeing Bloomberg, you're seeing everybody's going, holy smokes, man. The market's turning. That's right. We have a supply issue and demand. I'm telling you, you're going to see we're fine. We're 100% fine. If you've wondered when you can start to imagine an easier life in real estate, I would say this portion is going to be easier because nobody's going to be talking about how bad the market is anymore. But I will tell you, it won't get easier, but real estate is definitely going to start to turn the other way. So if you have clients waiting for the bottom to hit, or you have clients waiting for the market to change, this is your call mid-year. Every call that we've made now sounds like this. Hey, oh, sorry, I'm letting everybody in. Hey, RJ, it's Marianne Gillespie calling you. I'm your favorite Century 21 agent, and I just wanted to reach out to you and let you know that we've seen a turn start to happen in the Greater Toronto Area and the GTA, and it's going to hit us eventually. So I'd love to just quickly update you, but first, do you have any questions about the market before I do? Okay, if we have buyers, every old lead in existence, we're using that script. Every old lead in existence. I don't care if the lead is 3 years old. For our 3-year-old leads, this is exactly what we're saying. And I know they're not going to remember, but this is what we say to the 3-year-old leads. We're just like, hey, RJ, I spoke to you a few years ago and you were interested in real estate back then. And you told me not to reach out to you until we had positive news about the market. Well, the time has finally come. But I wanted to just quickly check and see. Any questions you have about the market before I tell you? And has anything changed? Did you end up doing anything? That's all I do. Now, if they say, yeah, we moved, but I'd still like to hear this, no problem. I don't take them out of my database. I just missed an opportunity to follow up. I learned my lesson. Same thing when I have that extra piece of cake. Eventually, I learn a lesson, okay? Not to eat the cake, okay? So same thing with leads. Eventually, you're going to hear it too many times that you didn't follow up fast enough, and you'll learn your lesson. Maybe it will be this time. Who knows? But this is exactly, I'll clean up every dirty old lead. I will talk to them about this because the turn is happening. Okay. And you don't see it until it actually happens. So being on this call actually today, you now know it's happening. Okay. So this is a really good thing. Now, Calgary and Alberta, I'm just showing you this really quickly. Everybody lumps Canada in one giant swoop. It's not true. When you're looking, okay, at Calgary right now, it's a seller's market for single family homes. They only have 2.5 months of supply. Sales to listing ratio over 60%. We are headed there again. We're at 39. We did an 8 point something percent jump in sale to listing ratio. Mark my words, by the end of the summertime, we will be closer to about 45 to 50%. We'll be in the 40s to 50. So this is going to be big. This is going to be really big for us. Okay. Now their condo market is crashing terribly, but that's not our problem. So we're good. Okay. So we're good to go. I'm all right with that. Sorry. I'm just going to go here. So when we're talking about the market, okay, and now we're going to have a lot of fun with this because I'm really okay with this, all right? Now, what this means for you realistically is that the market isn't broken. We call this very simply, it's divided right now. Buyers are back. They're negotiating hard. Sorry, I have to keep going up here, letting these guys in. I'm just happy you're all here. I'm so happy. Okay, so what we're talking about for those of you who joined a little bit late, we're just going to really quickly recap. Okay, Alex, so nice to see you. All right, so baby daddy. All right, so you look like a baby dad now. You look like maybe it was a good weekend, a little bit less sleep. Uh,
I think baby daddy, though, means it's your baby daddy, doesn't it? So let's record that and send it out. This is a scandal.
And then, can you imagine? No, that would be the reason I have no kids is I'm pretty sure they'd turn out, they'd come after me. I just wanted to protect myself. I'm only kidding. So what you're looking at, those of you who joined late, we'll quickly recap it. The Greater Toronto Area, the internal is actually showing major signs of recovery. It hits your city around September. So it works like a wave. You get hit first when the market crashes, and then the core of the city, the Toronto core, gets it last. When it's recovering, it starts recovering the middle, and then it moves quite rapidly all the way external. You will hit this no later than September. Okay, so you're on your way. It's excellent news. 6,700, so we're up year over year with inventory sales. That's insane. This is a great jump, 9.4% jump. Amazing. That whole stuff about the war, not necessarily, impacting and whatnot. We know that. Then we're looking at new listings down 12.9%. That is incredible to see. So absolutely incredible. We're really excited about that. Less inventory. It's a late spring. We should not have seen that. Okay, that was a big help for a lot of us. Then we're seeing average home sale price is still a little low. We will recover and end up at 2%, I guarantee you. And we're up 31.2% was a year ago. We are up. We are showing signs. Okay, we will be, as I said, we will absolutely be close to 40s and 50% listing to sale ratio by the end of the summer. Guaranteed. Okay, so everything's looking really good. What we're trying to say here, guys, is that buyers are back. They're negotiating really hard. So negotiation focus on skills is actually something very important that we're going to work on in another session. Negotiations is what's killing the market right now. Buyers, sellers, agents, everywhere, we're not negotiating the way we should, and we need to look at that because the buyers aren't desperate, they're active. Okay, so that means they're out there, but they're not desperate, which means you need to learn how to negotiate and get some motivation behind them. As I was saying to the group before some of you jumped on, use the scripts, use the market stats. You got to share the news. Pick up the phone and tell everybody. Hey, I just thought I'd reach out to you, Alex. It's Marianne. I just want to reach out to you because in mid-year review time where we're looking at the numbers and the market is showing some positive signs of increase. Just wanted to see if you had any questions before I shared some information with you. No? Okay, good. Let's go. Old leads. Hey, you told me to reach out to you. It's been 2 years. I know it's been a while, but you said don't reach out to you until something positive happens. Well, it's happening right now. You got buyers sitting on the fence. You need to show them this. You got sellers sitting on the fence. You need to show them this. Now, we can't say that it's going to maintain by 100% certainty, but I did put it on recording and you did hear me at the beginning. I'm always right. I stand by that. Okay. You can't argue stats. And Bloomberg just posted 3 days ago that they agree with the stats. They're like, the recovery is happening. Okay. Now, Bloomberg does that. They're always late. Okay. So what you're looking at is that property by property type, some things are moving, some aren't. So you have to really look at correctly pricing based on what inventory and supply you guys have. When you're heading into the second half of the year, you're noticing that some places are selling, some places aren't, and it's confusing. Right now, it's property type. Property type is the ones. If it's overpriced, they're not selling. I think we can speak for a lot of people here. Don't take overpriced listings. Okay. Don't take overpriced listings. It's better to honestly pass them away. I just wouldn't take anybody who doesn't have a destination or motivation to get there and wants to overprice. I would run very far away. Okay. It's just going to give you a false hope. If you carry 5 listings and they're all overpriced, and I see this a lot in coaching, when people come to me and they're like, I don't understand. And I'm like, yeah, you got 5 listings and they're all overpriced. And yet the person's like, they're sitting on $70,000 of GCI minimum, and yet they're never going to see a penny of that. So they're feeling really good, but then they're not going to see a penny of that. Okay. So you got to really watch this. Don't take the overpriced listings. And if you need help with that, just let me know. So here we go with the reset. Now that we've covered the market, and if you ever have questions about the market, hit me up today. Happy to answer them. There's nothing I can't answer about today's market. I'm very, very optimistic, but I would be the first person to tell you I wasn't. At the beginning of the year, it did not look like we were going to enter a recovery this fast. So I was expecting the recovery to hit us maybe the fourth quarter. We're moving fast. This is really good news. The numbers came in way higher for the core of the GTA than I ever anticipated. So because of that, we're moving faster. So it's not that we weren't going to recover, it's just we're recovering faster now. Okay. So I want you to sit for a second with the fact that we have 6 months left. Okay. When you think about it, and I did a little video on my Instagram today, it's not a panic countdown. A lot of people go into halfway through the year and they look at their first 6 months, then they look at their second 6 months and they go into a panic mode. Okay, but I want you to think of it differently. I want you to think of it as like a runway. So whenever I look at the first 6 months, I don't get nervous. I look at the first 6 months as an information pathway. What did I do the first 6 months? Where do I want to go the next 6 months? And I look at it as a runway. I never get panicked. I don't look at it as a countdown. I do a lot of triathlons. If I looked at things like a countdown, it would cause me severe anxiety. And that's the truth. So when you're looking at it 50% of your year is gone. Okay. So this is the truth. All right. So if you're behind on your numbers now, you are not the exception on this call. Okay. If you want to look at the real estate board in general, I run a report in all of the Toronto real estate board. And the report is, I do it for fun. And I'm never going to share it because it's obviously confidential. But I take a look at every single person in the Toronto Real Estate Board, and I do what's called a first 6 months this year versus first 6 months of last year. And then it tells you in this report what percentage everybody is in relation to last year's production. Are they ahead? Are they behind? And if so, by what percentage? Majority, like we're talking 80% or a little bit more, are not performing as good as they did last year's first 6 months. That's over 80%. 20% are above significantly. So there's a really interesting 80-20 happening right now. Okay. And so one of the things is that's not me calling anybody out in the Toronto Real Estate Board. I don't want to be insulting. Okay. But we can't pretend that everybody's doing really good because that doesn't make any sense either. Okay. So when you're looking at that. So when I want you, sorry, I just got to keep letting people, the reframe that I want you to think about when you're looking at these two statements here is that being behind on a goal is not failure. Okay. It's not. Too many coaches and too many people out on social media will tell you, well, yeah, in 6 months, man, if you effed up on your first 6 months, you better hurry up. It's not. Remember that statement and hang on to it clearly. The first 6 months and the 6 months of your numbers is not an indicator of failure. You have still 6 months to prove that point, okay? It's not failure. 6 months of information is what we have. Failure is finishing the year off and not giving 100% to where we are right now. Okay, that's failure. Failure is looking at the first 6 months and making an assumption that you're not going to hit your targets because of wherever you are. Okay, it tells you what needs to change over the next 180 days. That's how I look at mid-year reviews. That's how I look at the mid-year numbers. Okay, and that's the only useful piece of information about missing the goals that you should hang on to. Okay, everybody should tell you that. Whatever you did for the first 6 months, it's not failure, it's information and it's numbers. Take the information, the numbers, and use it and say, okay, I missed my goals because of this. Get a diagnosis of clarity, as I like to call it, from a goal, and then get on autopilot and fix it. Okay, half the year gone, half the year is still yours. Okay, which means the only math that matters is the one on the right-hand side. 50% of the year is still ahead of you. 50%. So it doesn't matter. I had somebody today say there are 39 transactions they did 20 transactions the first half of the year. They missed their target. Now they have to do 39 the second half. And I said, can you do it? And they said, well, it's going to be hard. I said, that's not the question. Can you do it? And they're like, yes. I said, okay, let's look at what did we learn in the first half of the year. And he says, you know what I learned? I did 19 transactions, took more vacations than ever, and I barely did more than 4 hours of lead generation a week. Exactly. He says, I wasted a lot of time driving around for leases. And I feel like that's what held me back is I did way more leases than I did on resale. He says, I'm done. And I said, exactly. Cut the leases out, double down, if not triple down on your lead generation. And I said, triple your lead gen. Let's cut the leases out. Do you think you can hit 39? He says, I can definitely hit 30. I said, okay, 30 to 39 is our stretch. Let's do it. You got to look at where you're headed. Okay. So it's never a failure. I'm a very, very big person on that. Okay. So you can't look at it this way. I don't even care if you did 50,000 and your goal was 500,000. Figure it out. We'll figure it out. Simple as that. Just reverse engineer the math on it. Okay. Now let's take a look. These are only 3 reasons why, things happen. And I'm going to be direct with you. It's never motivation. Okay. Motivation is the feeling. Motivation is like, if, I'm never motivated. Like if, somebody said to me, like, how do you get up and train for Germany and stuff like that? It's not motivation. There's no motivation. I don't care what anybody says. If somebody is excited to get up at 4:30 in the morning, knowing that they have to work all day, drive all over the place, be everywhere, blah, 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 and then like 4 o'clock or 4:30 in the morning and do a 2.5 hour workout, it's no motivation. Zero. There's no motivation jumping into lake water freezing cold and being like, I have to swim across the entire lake and then back again at the end of a workday. There's no motivation in that. That's an emotion. The emotion that you feel is, I got to get it done. Why? Because I have a goal. That's how it is. If I relied on motivation, motivation is emotion. And emotion is when you go to bed with the best intentions, you wake up in the morning, you're like, what just happened? Okay, motivation is an emotion. All right. And it's not hustle either. If I hear the word hustle ever again, I'm just going to be like, hustle is not, people are like, man, you hustle. No, I don't. I set goals, I hit the goals. I don't hustle. Hustle to me means like chaos. You live in chaos. I don't live in chaos. I'm very, very calm actually. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever. It's also not that you didn't want enough. Okay, you see that up there as well. People are always saying, well, maybe you didn't want enough. Well, if that were true, none of you would be on this call because all of you wanted it, right? And so simple as that. What it is it's the absence of a system. You have to really look at why people don't hit goals. Okay, so it's one of 3 reasons all the time. Okay, no consistent lead generation system is the first one that we see with almost everybody. Activity is really random. And it's mood driven. So you're waiting for that motivation. And mood driven means that if you're in a bad mood, something happened, kids started screaming, somebody got sick, didn't have a good sleep last night, you will use your mood to say that you couldn't lead generate. Okay. Life got busy, pipeline got, depleted, but mood driven is probably the number 1 reason why we see no consistent lead generation. We see it in Canada all the time, right? Oh, I had to do door knocking, but it was too hot outside because it was 100 degrees outside. Okay. Fair point. Then what did you replace it with? Well, I didn't. Okay. That's mood driven, right? Somebody who says, well, yeah, you know what? My kids were sick all week or my kids were home. I was at daycare camp or whatever the case is. Okay. That's mood driven. You were tired. You were exhausted, but you didn't also find a solution. Did you send out text messages? Did you maybe, hire a babysitter for 2 hours even, per day? No. Okay. So it's mood driven. You looked for a reason not to do it. You relied on the mood. The mood was tired. You didn't do it. Fair point. It's very hard to do lead generation when you're exhausted. Okay. It's summertime. It's summertime. Yeah, it's summertime. What you don't realize, you guys are like my favorite people right now because what you're seeing is you're seeing that the market's changing. If it's heading to you in September, you got to do the work now. So anybody who's not on here who doesn't actually know that the recovery point is making its way to you, they're going to miss one of the biggest opportunities. You can't take your foot off just because it's summertime and it's July and we want to have a little bit of fun. This is the window of big opportunity. This is why some people are going to see a September that is going to be mind-blowing and other people are going to come back after taking it easy for the summer and they're going to be behind. And they're going to miss the biggest shift in real estate happening right this minute. Okay, because mood-wise, they're enjoying their summer. You can still have your cake and eat it too. Okay, you can still crush it and have a great summer and work on a great tan, and you can still have a great business. Okay, so consistent lead generation will do that, and then your pipeline dries up when you don't have consistent. Okay, my consistency, here's what I'm going to suggest. 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. You can, including one open house every second weekend. So 2 open houses a month is mandatory. Never do them on Saturdays. They're just not sexy anymore. A twilight one on a Thursday from like 5:30 to 7:30 works, and a Sunday 2 to 4 is working right now. So we're seeing those two working right now, which is really good. So 2 open houses a month and consistent lead generation, 2 hours per day, 5 days a week. And they should be done before noon. And 45 minutes, 5 days a week to lead follow up. So 45 minutes, 5 days a week to lead follow up, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, for pure lead generation. All of that done before 12 p.m. Okay, all of it. And then 2 open houses per month. If you can keep up with that, you're in a good momentum and you'll be fine. Okay, that's all you really need in this market. The second system is numbers aren't tracked. You can't fix what you don't measure. And I've talked about this quite a bit. If you don't measure numbers or weekly numbers, you're going to find out you're behind in November. Okay, rip the Band-Aid off. I gave all of you a mid-year report to show you what numbers that we really like to track and stuff. When you don't track your numbers, you usually find out too late. Okay, it's kind of like somebody not getting on the scale. I love using these analogies because I feel like we had 2 weeks since my Germany race, my triathlon, and we got to eat and drink anything we wanted for 2 weeks. So it ended yesterday at midnight. I stayed up until 11:59 to make sure I got every ounce of calories that I could possibly eat. I had my last sip of wine. I was like, so we had 2 weeks. But because we didn't track the numbers, I can assure you of something. My workout pants did not fit me this morning. Okay, so it was not a good scenario. But the point being is I didn't want to track anything. So therefore, I found out after 2 weeks of really behaving poorly, my coaches were like, how did you even consume that much? And I'm like, I don't know, but I did a really good job. I went all in. And so 2 weeks of cheat weeks after a big race, not hard to do. So again, you can't fix what we don't measure. So what do you want to measure? You want to measure things. How many appointments did you go on? How many listings did you take? What happened with your conversion? How many of your deals first half of the year were buyers? How many were sellers? Where did they come from? What is your true lead generation source? What's your plan for the next 6 months? You got to really track everything. And when I say track everything, I mean everything. How many calls are you making? What's your open house conversion look like? If you avoid numbers, you're avoiding the most important part of your business. It's the root. And then the final one was what we talk about is no weekly structure. So all your goals and what you want to accomplish over the next 6 months are living in your head. And that's a great place for some of you who think it should belong there. Not at all. Okay. They should be in your calendar. Okay. Every single thing and the goals that you have should be highlighted in your calendar every single week because your head will lose all the information. So it will only go to whatever's in your calendar for today. I have no idea what I'm doing on Friday of this week. I have no idea what I'm doing on any given day. I follow a calendar and it's very structured that way. Okay, so be very careful with that. So the 4 moves that you need to make in the next 180 days, okay? And you know what? The first one is audit. Then we're going to rebuild. Then we're going to recommit. Then we're going to track. We'll cover that in a second. It's not a philosophy. We call this a sequence. In coaching, it's known as a sequence. A sequence means is you do it in order. Okay, you don't jump to I'm going to recommit without auditing and rebuilding. It won't work. Okay, and you can't get to tracking if you don't know what you're rebuilding. Okay, so it's a sequence, means starts with an audit, goes into a rebuild, then it goes into recommitment, and then it goes into tracking. So what do we do first? Right here. Super, super easy. It's called the audit. Okay. So this is one we're going to really, really look at. It's called reverse engineering your numbers. Now, when you reverse engineer your numbers, your real numbers, not the round numbers that we told ourselves in January. Okay. So what we told ourselves in January, these are the real numbers backed into from where you are right now. So the chain that you want to look at is right here. What is your income goal remaining? Okay, remaining. You can see it at the bottom. Your remaining income goal, and I want you to just divide that number by whatever your average commission is, and that gives you your transactions. If I want to make 100,000 for the rest of the year, 10K per commission, that gives me 10 transactions needed. Now, when I'm looking at my conversion rate, okay, or conversation, sorry, I follow a very simple rule. It's going to be a little different than what you're seeing on here. So let's say I need 10 transactions. In order for me, my lead, oops, sorry, we got to let Kim back in. Oopsie. Okay, so when we're looking at transactions needed to conversations, I always look at my conversations as very simple. What is my conversion rate? If I can convert, I don't give myself anything good. Okay, so if I have a rule, multiply by 3. Simple as that. So if I need 10 transactions, I need to have 30 conversations minimum, directly or related to that. Now, some of you have a different conversion, but understand that you have to ask yourself 10 transactions, 30 conversations is like, for me, that's easy because we're very segmented. Some of you, I would almost say I would be looking at 100. If you're talking Ontario, specifically your area, we have a lot of experience with your area. I would say 100 conversations a week. I don't need that many because we have a very serious pipeline. So it's very different. But I would say the average agent that really wants to push should just have 100 conversations every week. And that doesn't mean you're sitting on the phone and stuff like that. That means like what I did yesterday. I was at Costco. Lord help me, I had to go on a Sunday. So anyway, so I was at Costco and I'm sitting at Costco and I had flowers. And the guy, I love the flowers at Costco. I mean, they're so affordable. It's crazy. So I had these beautiful flowers, and the guy and the girl at the cashier, first thing they said to me, they said, are you buying yourself flowers? I said, yeah, of course. And I said, did you do something wrong? And I said, no. I said, that's hilarious though. I said, no, I'm just like amazing. And I said, like amazing. And I said, so you know what? Finished triathlon, but my last cheat day. I said, so this is just like to cheer me up because I'm going to be miserable on Monday because I'm not allowed to misbehave. And they started laughing. I said, yeah. I said, anyway, listen, I said, how about you guys? I said, what's the scoop here? I said, is anybody thinking of doing anything real estate wise? The market's turning right now. You think that's random? It's not. The guy across from me said, you know what? He goes, I need to figure out when the best time, he was a little older. He goes, I need to figure out when the best time is to sell my place. I said, okay. I said, you know what you're going to do? I said, we had to hurry up. Obviously, I didn't have 700 items. I said, do me a favor. I said, here's my card. Email me, text me. Don't ever be afraid to do that. I said, it's free and you need to know that. And I said, and I'll tell you exactly when the best time is. Some really cool stuff has happened in the market. Okay, he did. He emailed me literally that night. He says, what's happening in the market? And so it was really cool. So anyway, the point is that a conversation doesn't mean a 20-minute call. It means being fearless. And if you think I don't do that, I do it everywhere. Everywhere. You name it, I do it. I was at the Toronto Real Estate Board doing the open house session last week. And the girl at reception was there. I stopped. I talked to her. I said, hey, blah, blah, blah. We were talking, whole 9 yards. Ends up she's renting. And I said, that's cool. I said, you're renting. I said, that makes sense. You look like about the age to rent. She goes, yeah. I said, so your parents had a house? And she goes, yeah. I said, big house? She goes, fairly big. I said, are they ever going to sell it? She goes, yeah, they're thinking about it. I said, cool. Here's my card. Tell them to reach out to me. I know some great agents in the area. That's at the Toronto Real Estate Board. I'm always having conversations. The people who did our lunch at the Toronto Real Estate Board. I'm not from Toronto, right? But I like referrals. So I'm not from Toronto. And I said to the people handing our box lunches, I said, hey, can you do me a favor? I said, these were amazing. I goes, did you guys do these? They're like, yeah, we assemble them. I said, amazing. I said, some of my best packaging. I said, I really like the packaging. Oh, thank you so much. I said, you guys own the company? They own the catering company. I said, that's great. I said, do you have a card? I said, yeah. I said, that's amazing. I said, who's your realtor? They said, oh, we have a good realtor. I said, that's awesome. I said, well, what are you guys doing right now? They're like, oh, well, it's too expensive for us to move. I said, okay, well, listen, can I add you to my database? They're like, absolutely. Awesome. If you ever have a question, just let me know. Okay. Done. So it's about, like, some of us are so afraid to be in sales that we're not having the right number of conversations. My suggestion, 100 conversations a week, it works. Okay. And you're just conversing. Oops. Let's go back. I didn't mean that. Okay. The next thing that we do is leads needed. Again, I always multiply the transactions needed is going to be times 3 for the leads needed. That means I'm going to need, if I need 10 transactions, I need 30 leads, but 30 leads are important. 30 leads are identified as a lead is somebody who's going to buy, sell, invest in real estate within a 90-day period. Okay, so a lead is not somebody who says they're going to sell next year. Okay, that's an inquiry. There's a big difference. An inquiry is anybody above that 90-day mark. Okay, and a true lead is anybody who's going to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in 90 days or less. So buy, sell, or invest in real estate 90 days or less. Super, super important to identify the difference, especially when you're heading into the next 6 months. So if you identify a lead as somebody who's going to buy, sell, invest in real estate in a 90-day or less period, that is a true lead. Okay, anything above that is an inquiry making its way into a lead. So if I talk to somebody and they say, yeah, we're thinking we're going to put our house on the market up in at Christmas, I don't identify that as a lead. Some people may, I don't. Okay, I need a lead to be convertible. Okay, and very important. Inquiry, yes. Lead, no. Okay, so it is an inquiry. The person is thinking of putting their house on the market in December. Now, how it moves to a lead is if for sure they have identified that no matter what, they're putting it on the market because relocation, kid moving out, whatever the case is. Okay, so it has to be identifiable. Okay, so when you're looking at it, you've got to really sit back and say to yourself, if you want to crush the next 6 months, and I think the opportunity is huge right now because you finally have good news to talk about. So it's not doom and gloom. Rates stayed the same, just like we talked about. You have very interesting news to share. So do 100 conversations a week. Challenge yourself. What does that look like? That means 25 people per day you're talking about real estate. Now, a conversation can be sending a text message. Boom. So if I really wanted to hit 25 conversations a day, very simple. I'll go do 7 conversations. I send 7 text messages out to my cell phone database. I'll make 7 phone calls. I'll leave messages if necessary. I'm at 14 now. I'll do 7 social media reach outs, sending 7 direct messages there. Now I'm at 21. And I'll do 4 interactive strangers. Okay, so I don't want to share too much about my day yesterday, but I'm going to. So anyway, so I went to Winners Home Sense yesterday. Okay, so I like to make my rounds on a Sunday. I like to go to all the places that are going to torture me. So anyway, long story short, I was looking for something very specific for a gift for somebody. I ended up finding it. Anyway, I talked to the store manager who I happened to see around. I was like, hey, I said, how's things going this summer? She's just shooting the shit with me. She doesn't really know me very well, but she's seen me in there. And she's one of my 4 conversations. I said, any questions about the real estate market? I said, you know what? There's been some really cool changes happening. Okay, now we're not affected by the GTA out here, but we had some really cool stuff happening too. So she asked for my update. I said, boop, 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 perfect, really good. I said, all right. I said, well, here's my card. Remember, you ever have a question, you reach out to me. Remember what we said earlier. Okay, very, very important. Consistent. Number 1. The biggest problem with every single person that I can tell you right out of the gate that doesn't hit goals is consistent. If somebody is not consistent with their lead generation, and I am consistent as ever. If you have to hit 25 people a day and you got into the habit of doing it 5 days a week, you were consistent with it, your business would blow up. But what happens is you have no weekly structure, you're not tracking the numbers, you're not committed to the goal. So what happens is that you're inconsistent with your lead gen, which means no numbers are tracked, no weekly structure. It all works together. It's an easy career. Somebody asked me this the other day. I said I moved out of full-time sales, doing 80 transactions a year. I will tell you, it is easier to do transactions and be a real estate agent than it is to be a real estate coach. Any day of the week. More lucrative. There's no job more lucrative than a real estate agent. None. 0. Okay, you can make literally all you have to do is sit back and be consistent with lead gen. Be like, okay, Marianne says 2 hours a day, 5 days a week is my lead gen. Perfect, before noon. 45 minutes a day, 5 days a week to follow with all leads every day before noon. That's 2 hours and 45 minutes I'm asking. 5 days a week. 2 open houses a month, not 4, just 2. Plan it, do it better. And then keep up with your conversations. Keep up and hit that 100. It doesn't mean your conversations are direct lead generation. If you notice that, it doesn't mean that conversations are direct lead generation. Everywhere I go, I talk about real estate. Everywhere. Like legit everywhere. I don't ever stop. I'm just like, bam, bam. And I'm like, especially when there's good news. I'm like, yeah, you know what's happening various around the area? Yep. We're seeing some changes happen. It's gonna be really awesome. The market's changing. So everywhere you go, it's that. I go pay for gas on the inside. Always. Always. I hate it. Right? I don't like it, but I do it. I go inside and I'm just like, hey, you know what? My job is to have as many conversations in a day about real estate. Do you have any questions about the market? Sometimes they'll look at you and be like, where'd you come from? And I'll be like, well, I'm just curious. Are you an owner or renter? Every consistent lead generation will blow your business through the roof. And you just need to hit conversations. And if you're lacking conversations, go do a social event. It's summertime. This is the easiest time to do it. Go door knocking. Go door knocking in the summertime, no problem. Go to a high density neighborhood, door knock in the summertime. You know what? And have those conversations. If you're 10 or 20 conversations short, that's an hour and a half. Just go do it. Right? You know, you anywhere you go, you're invited to a shower, a birthday party, a cottage. Go do it. You don't have a big network? That's okay. Go sign up for a social event in your city. Go do it. You don't have a big network again? Find an event, volunteer. If you don't believe that I do it, here's my thing. I'm not doing the Ottawa Ironman this year because I just did Germany, but it's the biggest event in our city. So I'm volunteering and I'm volunteering at the finish line. Okay. So I'm volunteering from 2 o'clock, I believe, until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. Nobody's rolling in at 2 o'clock. If you're finishing an Ironman at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, then that's amazing. But nobody's going to be there for a couple hours. But guess why I'm doing it? Because guess who's going to be at the finish line? All the VIPs, all the big important people are going to be at the finish line. So I'm smart. I know that. I am going to network the living pants off of there. I'm bringing little goodie bags. I'm bringing things. My goal is to have 20 new contacts. I've already messaged the mayor saying, hey, I'm going to be at the finish line. Are you going to be there? He's like, yeah, absolutely. I met him a bunch of times. I said, I can't wait. I said, I'm really excited for you. Always, always, always. Okay. And I'm always picking up on little weird things, right? I recently, there was a CEO of a major real estate company, and he's very nervous public speaking, but not a lot of people know that. And he's not the greatest at public speaking. I'm going to be honest with you. He's not that great. Okay. So, but that's okay. Not a lot of us are. But he has a little rock, like a thing that he carries with him that was given to him by his mother. And recently I saw him at an event and I said, hey, I said, you did a great job. And I said, where's your rock? He says, well, actually, he says, somebody borrowed my rock at the last event and they accidentally flew home with my rock. I said, you're kidding. He says, no, I'm like really nervous without it. Oh boy. So I was out in Germany and I found this store which had these like magical rocks. Like it's a weird thing in Germany. So I bought him a rock and I said to him, and I said, here you go. I want people to remember me in real estate. So always be connecting. Always listen. You go to a restaurant, you're having a drink, tell the server, hey, I'm in real estate. I'm just curious. I always like to hear what the public thinks of opinions. What do you think about our real estate market? I'm just curious. You'll get the answer. Build the connections. Everything is conversations. Everything is conversations. And then leads, like I said, multiply your transactions needed by 3. That's how many good leads you'll need, and then get into daily accountability with them. Okay. Now there's 3 lanes of traffic I really want you to look at. These are the 3 lead lanes that I would highly suggest most people work on. Random activity stalls the second life gets busy. And what I mean by that is that if you don't have a plan and you just decide that you're going to just do random activity, like you're just waking up this week and you're like, I think I'll door knock this week. And then you're like, I think next week I'll do cold calling. I think the next week I'll do something else. Okay. You need to have 3 lanes running every single week so that when you're uninspired by this beautiful real estate market, or you're uninspired because it's like beautiful outside and you don't want to be inside, your lanes are continuing to work. Okay. These are my 3 favorite ones. Sphere and past clients. Super important. Okay. And so you have to have scheduled touches is what I'm suggesting. Okay. So none of this, hey, not random, hey, stranger, text messages. These are your highest ROIs, but they're also the most neglected. Okay. And I hear it all the time. I was on the phone with somebody this morning. Oh my gosh, I literally had a heart attack. I was on the phone with a person this morning. The person said to me, they really want to use this for coaches. And I said, that's great. I said, can you tell me like about your database? I said, I'm not calling my database. I said, what do you mean? I do not want to bug people. Holy baloney. You need to do it. Sphere and past clients, no random strangers. Make sure you do it. It's the most neglected, easiest thing. Remember the script I used earlier? Very simple. Hey, it's Marianne. I just want to share with you, there's been some great updates to the real estate market. I just want to see, do you have any questions about the market that I can help you with? Simple as that. Be diligent with your sphere past clients. Call everybody. Be fearless. Do not hesitate on this one. Farm area or niche, I always like to say pick one neighborhood, one niche, own it consistently. That would be where your open houses should live. Okay, that would be where you live or a niche area, and stay consistent. Don't go to 5 different areas, 5 different gaps on this. Stay very consistent with your niche and you'll get it. And then your online content with social media has never been more important because that's what positions you as authority. A lot of people are frustrated. I have this amazing client that we work with, and they have such a good credibility in the industry, but the last 2 years, their name hasn't carried their sales. And so when they brought us on board, they're like, what's happening? Why are we not succeeding? I said, it was very simple. I said, because your online content shows that you're not in business. This is 2026. If you are persona non grata, you are as good as gone. Okay? Because everybody is looking you up and it's going, oh, what's Tamara doing online? If I don't see Tamara active online, she doesn't exist. Period. That's what people think. Okay? So unfortunately, it's really important. That online content feeds your sphere and past clients and your farm and niche. If you're a door knocker and you're not getting results, watch your online content. Very interesting. If you do open houses and you're not getting appointments or people aren't answering you after, look at your online content. If they're going online to look you up, how do I know? I know 80-year-olds that will go online after they get somebody's card and they'll go look you up. I have a friend who has 2 80-year-old parents and they're French Canadian. So they're a little spicy. Spicy is a good word for them. 2 spicy 80-year-old French Canadians. And they know AI better than 20-year-olds, okay? And they're like, of course we know AI, Marianne. They're like, we look up all our medication on AI. I'm like, okay, good job, man. That's what it is. So they said, the other day, a realtor came door knocking to our house and gave us their card. And we said, how many houses do you sell? They said, I'm very popular in the area. I said, really? They said, yeah, we went to their Insta. And I said, oh, are you into their Insta? And what'd you see? Oh, mon Dieu. They're like, you should see the garbage on there. They're not realtors. They're just playing. They're having fun. They're just playing. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's 80-year-olds. They're door knocked, a realtor door knocked them. They went to their Instagram and then everything they saw was just, just fun stuff. And they're like, there was nothing there. And it's like, so you got to be careful. Everybody is using online content to feed farm and niche and sphere and past clients. And if you struggle with appointment conversion, that could be a very big issue. Why? So when we ask you to do the third part, which is committing, I would say take the year and put it in 2 90-day sprints. Okay. When you're looking at 6 months, it is daunting. The number one reason why people fail goals on the second half of the year is they're looking at it and they're putting that pressure, which again, you shouldn't put any pressure on yourself. Look at it and split it into 2 90-day sprints. Sprint 1 runs now until the end of September. Reset your numbers with the audit we just did. Okay, take a look at that. Launch all 3 lanes, come up with your non-negotiables and a real 30-day accountability check-in. Reach out to me and be like, okay, just send me a message. Use Tamara, use whoever you want to use, but commit. Okay, and don't worry about September onwards yet. Commit to this. That's all we need you to do. Your second sprint will be October to December, where we're really going to double down on what's converting, what is working, what's not working, and that's when we push into market momentum. Right? But we don't worry about that right now. But 90 days is short enough for you to stay honest. Okay? But it's also long enough to actually build something. And if you look at the next 90 days, that's what we're going to be looking at. We don't care about the rest of the time. Okay? No worries, girl. So you have to look at this. And that's why we put it together. 90 days is all you need to do. Think end of September. That's it. I don't need anything else. End of September, push. And that's what we have to look at. Now, when you're looking at the fourth mood, which is tracking, very easy here. When we are tracking, I want you to look at it. A goal without a tracking rhythm is just a wish. We learn this in Ironman training aggressively. I learned it in coaching aggressively. If we don't track, we don't get there. It's very critical. So we start off with 5 minutes every day, same time every day. Look at the following: leads, conversations, how many appointments, same day, same time, every single week, every single day. 5 minutes. It's just a 5-minute number review. You never stop, except for the 2 days that you're not lead generating. Then I want you to go to monthly. Check your goals against the 90-day sprint. How am I doing? Okay, have it come to Jesus, right? And then outside mirror. You need somebody or someone to hold you accountable. Do not try to do this alone. Okay, partner up and partner up with somebody that doesn't like you. Okay, partner up with somebody that doesn't like you. Okay, we don't like any of our coaching clients. I'm kidding. We like them all, but we are hired to take them to the next level. Your friend, your best friend, is never going to be your outside mirror. Ever. Your best friend, if your best friend can't honestly tell you, the truth about things, or they would never cash a $10,000 check if they knew it was your last $10,000 and you said, hold me accountable. If they won't cash that check, they are not your outside mirror. Your outside mirror needs to be somebody that really does not buy into all your bullshit. Okay, so be careful on that. And if you are all on here and you decide, hey, I want to run an accountability group in the office for 90 days, do it. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to leave you with before we actually, jump off here is this. I just did the hardest triathlon in Germany. Okay, and you know what? I trusted the training. I showed up on days that I didn't feel like it. And nobody feels like it on race day. You don't show up on race day and feel great. You show up on race day and you question everything you did. But you have to trust what you do and what you put in. And in real estate, it's the same. You have to trust all the things I'm asking you to do over the next 90 days to reach the outcome of having the best second half of the year. Okay? I did things when I didn't feel like it. Okay? I don't feel like training every day. I don't feel like doing that shit. I don't feel like going back and forth to Toronto every single week for the rest of the month. Okay? I don't feel like that. But you have to do it when you don't feel like it. I don't feel like running. Tonight I have to do an hour run outside. I don't feel like it, but I do it because that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. And it feels good to do the race. The race was the goal. I didn't feel ready, but I trusted the training and I knew I did the work. Okay, you have to do the same thing with what you guys are doing. Okay, business is no different. Okay, I put it right at the bottom. Clarity with systems plus showing up when it's the hardest days is the formula. And you have enough time to do it. Okay, that you have enough time to do it. So what you really want to do is before Friday, I challenge you to do this. It's only Monday. Okay, so sooner rather than later, write down your real Q3 income goal, not the BS goal, the one you're committed to. Do all the reverse math that I told you to do, which is leads, conversations, transactions, weekly activity. Know those numbers. Go back and watch this again if you have to. We're going to get it loaded up today. Oops. Well, we're not going to get it loaded up if we can't do that. Okay, so run the reverse math. Pick one of the 3 lead lanes to commit to, whether it's sphere, farm, or content. One schedule this quarter. That's all I need you guys to do. You have until Friday. You showed up in the summertime in July. So let's get it done. And if you need me, message me on school. I'll support anybody who is committed to doing this. Okay, guys? Go crush it. And we'll see you later. And I'm in Barrie this week doing open house training. If any of you need to attend, it's Thursday. Watch your emails and we post it in school as well. Bye, guys.